So today we're going to do our last chapter in the book, which is capital budgeting. So capital budgeting, what do we do with capital budgeting? What we're doing here is we're analyzing alternative long-term investments and deciding which assets are to acquire, right? So there's four things that we go through when we do capital budget. One, the outcome is uncertain. Two, there are large outlays of money that we're trying to invest. Three, our investment involves a long-term commitment. And four, the decision may be difficult or impossible to reverse, right? So one of the ways we figure out how long it's going to take us to get our money back when we make this type of investment is called the payback period. And the payback period involves taking the cost of your investment and dividing it by what the annual net cash flows are. This is an example where you would know how much money you're going to get back from an investment. So let's say, for instance, our example, we purchased a machine for $16,000. The machine will give us an annual net cash flow of $4,100. How long do we think the payback period would be? Well, we would just take the 16,000 divided by 4,100, and that'll give us 3.9 years. And that's how the payback period works. It's a very simple calculation. Now, the complication with this calculation, or the problem with this calculation is that not always are there even annual cash flows, right? Like one year you might have $4,100 annual net cash flow, but the next year you might have $5,000. So how do you account if the cash flows are uneven? Well, you would make a chart like the one you see here. And for every year of cash flow, you would subtract out from the initial investment. So 16,000 minus 3,000 is 13,000, minus 4,000 is 9,000, minus 4,000 is 5,000, minus 4,000 is 1,000. Then minus 5,000, this net cash flow here, you see it's in the positive. So what you would know is that your payback period will be 4 and 5 years. To be exact, in this case, it would be 4.2 years. Does everybody understand? Whoops, sorry. All right, so using the payback period, it ignores, one of the biggest things it ignores is time value of money. When you say time value of money, I want you to think inflation. Every time we say, well, it's ignoring time value of money, we're ignoring inflation. And so let's consider two projects. Each have a 5-year payback period. And let's say the project costs $6,000. The projects have cash flow depicted in this slide, right? Where if you looked at it initially, just how fast you pay back, then you would easily pick project number one because it pays back in 3 years, right? 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, 6,000. However, project number two in 5 years has an explosion of net cash flows of $100,000. So if you're looking at all the years, easily you would pick project two, right? Because it's going to bring back $104,000 instead of $10,000. Accounting rate of return focuses on the annual income instead of the cash flows, right? So it looks at how much you're getting annually. So how we do that, we do the annual after-tax net income divided by the annual average investment, which is the beginning book value plus the ending book value divided by 2. So let's get an example here. Let's consider we have a $16,000 investment. The annual after-tax net income is $2,100, right? Because there's only 1 year let me see, net cash flow is 6,000, is 4,100, depreciation is 2,000. So that's our depreciation is 2,100. So it's, let me go back to that for once. Whoa, I'm going the wrong way. So we're going to take the 2,100, which is the after-tax net income, divided by 16,000 plus zero. 16,000 plus zero, zero plus 16,000 divided by 2, which that's where you're going to get the 8,000 from. 16,000 plus zero divided by 2. So 2,100 divided by 8,000, it will give you 26.25%. And that's the accounting rate of return. That's the rate of return that we believe we receive every year from this project, right? But are there shortcomings with this, right? The basis of the amount invested in the book value, not predicted market values in future periods is a problem. Income may vary from year to year. Remember what we just did, this calculation, we were doing the income instead. So it may vary. And then same situation, time value of money is ignored. So how do we figure we'll fix that? We use net present value. Net present value now use a discount the future net cash flows for the investment at the required rate of return or the hurdle rate. Subtract the initial amount invested from the sum of the discounted cash flows. So let's say, for instance, fast track, same $16,000 investment in a asset. Cash flows is $4,100. Fast track requires a 12% compounded annually return on its investment. So if that's the case, what we're going to do, we're going to take a time value of money sheet. I'm looking because I have one right here. So we're going to take a sheet, and it's going to look like this. So hopefully everybody can see that, right? And it comes in 2 sets. One section is for annuities, which are payments, and the other section is the set value. And what you would do, put this back in the camera again. It will focus. Right here are the time periods. And across the top are the percentages. And you would just go to 12% present value. On the present value table, and you would look at the, I don't know if you guys can see it here. Oh, yeah. If you see that 0.8929, that 0.7972, 0.7118, that's where they got the numbers to put on your slide here. They just used that sheet and they put those numbers down. So that present value of one factor, that's all they did was take the 12% column and put the factor down. And then what they're going to do, they're going to take the cash flow, the annual net cash flow, multiply by the factor to get the present value. So what this is a year. What it's saying is, if I gave you $4,100 a year from now at a 12% interest rate, what is it worth today? And so what it's worth today is $3,661, right? What is $4,100 due in 2 years at 12% interest rate? Today, it's worth $3,269. What is $4,100 worth in 3 years at a 12% interest rate today? It's worth $2,918, and so on and so forth. And so you take these, you add them together, you get $20,367. Subtract, that means you have a net present value of your investment of $4,367. So that's how net present value goes. You're going to get a present, you're going to get a sheet, look up the factor, 12%, whatever they tell you. In this case, it was 12%. And then put down the factors for it. Net present value decision rule. And then here, what they're doing is they're deciding between three projects, A, B, and C, multiplying by the net present value, the factor, the 10% factor, same deal. You just take the same sheet. Use the 10%, use that there. And you see it's 9.9091, 0.8264, 0.7513. That's all they're doing. They're just taking those factors, putting it down, and then they're multiplying, right? 5,000 times 0.9091 is 4,546. 8,000 times 0.9091 is 7,273. 1,000 times 0.9091 is 909. And then they're adding them. And whichever one comes with the highest net value, which in this case is project B, that's the one you would accept. Any questions on that? Okay.
No, Professor.
All right, no problem. IRR is the last one, internal rate of return. Internal rate of return, if a project has a 3-year life, initial cost of $12,000 and a $5,000 annual net cash flow, how do you find the internal rate of return? Let me tell you this. IRR is past the rate, past what we're going to do in this class, but I'm just showing it to you. So we take the 12,000 divided by the 5,000 to get 2.4, and that would be our factor. And we're looking for, I think, so what we'll do, we're going to go onto the sheet. It's just the same sheet that they're using, right? And then they're going to say, okay, I see 2.4 here. What is that at 3 periods? I see 2.4, 2.4 years. I see a 2.4 here. It's 12%, right? And 12% is going to be my IRR. Does that make sense? There's a little bit more behind it, but as I said, because this is the purview of the course, I'm not going to dwell on that one. I'm just here to show it to you. And break even time. Oh, break even. We've already done break even quite extensively. So that's the end of the slides.